when everyone you thought you knew deserts your fight. I'll go with you.
So first, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do you recall the first record that you bought?
It's the first record I ever bought.
Yeah.
Whew. I remember the first tape I ever bought, actually. Like a cassette tape. Do you know what that is?
I'm old enough to remember.
Okay, good. It was by a band called DC Talk, and I don't know if you know who they are, but it was my first piece of music I ever bought, and I ate that stuff up.
And what made you buy this specific tape?
My dad was coaching basketball for a bunch of high schoolers, and I was just a little elementary school kid, and they were all listening to this band, and I wanted to listen with them because when you're in elementary school, nothing's cooler than a high schooler. So I bought the cassette.
And did this instill in you the desire to make music? Or
No, not at all, actually. I didn't even think about writing music. So if you think about it, I bought the cassette when I was in first grade.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't start playing music until I was in 11th grade, so 10 years later.
But you're a self-taught musician. What then made you pick up the piano and other instruments?
What made me pick up an instrument? I guess identity issues, because I didn't know who I was, and I thought I was one thing. You know, it's like all about when you go to school and you interact with different kids, you try to figure out who you are. You know, what am I? Am I the jock? Am I the guy who's in theater? Am I in a choir? Do I play songs? Do I whatever? And I was really drawn to something different than what I was in high school. Because in high school I was a guy who did sports, and I didn't really like that, I didn't think. So when I first started learning how to play the piano, I think I just accidentally found that, and then I liked who I was when I was doing that.
So did it help you find your identity more?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it was even inside of my own family. Like none of my family does any music or anything, so I was just the weird music guy, you know.
But was it encouraged or?
No, in my family,
yeah.
They didn't really understand what was going on because, like I said, none of them really are musical at all. But they thought it was cool. You know, it's like I set up a microphone in, my own, little studio in the basement, and my mom's washing the dishes, and she hears her son screaming his head off down in the basement trying to record vocals, and she's got to be thinking, what the heck is going on with him? So I'm sure that they were really confused. But now I'm in a different country getting interviewed by you because of the stupid songs that I wrote in my basement. So.
Fair enough. Do you still have those recordings, those very first recordings?
Yes,
Did you ever listen to them?
Yeah, I have some of the first recordings I've ever done still on my computer, and I guard those with my life because I don't want anyone to ever hear them. You know, it's pretty ridiculous. You know, you look in your iTunes library, and I have just like tons and tons of songs labeled Tyler Joseph because that was my name, and I figured that was what I should call the person who was writing the songs. And now it looks ridiculous to see my name just copied over and over and over again because of all the weird songs I wrote in the past. Yeah, you're not going to hear those.
But something must have compelled you to keep them.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why. I mean, I've thrown away a lot of stuff, and I mostly throw away ideas now more than ever because when I try to write, I get a lot out of it. Like it helps me work through things.
Like in a cathartic sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's my word, actually. That's my favorite word. Catharsis is I had that word as a vocabulary word in high school, and I'll never forget it because it explained exactly what songwriting is for me. And You don't need to keep the song in order to feel the effect of something like that. So sometimes I'll throw things away, but back then I didn't throw stuff away as much because it was so precious, because they were my first songs ever. You always hold on to your first songs,
Okay.
and they're terrible.
And then, well, looking back, how did you, you describe them as being terrible, what then helped you develop as a musician?
Listening to other songs, I became a student of the radio and a student of the internet.
So, some specific bands maybe, or?
Specifically, no. I think that I took different things from different bands. You know, there's an aspect of my live performance that I've taken from dozens of different performers. There's an aspect of the way that I deliver a vocal on a track that I take from 6 other people who record in a studio. There's an aspect of my songwriting that I couldn't even begin to talk about. Only 2 or 3 bands that influenced me, and it's not even fair for me to even talk about just 2 of them, you know. So I like to not even mention it. It's just
so it's many. More not certain bands, but certain elements that exist in a lot of bands, in a lot of music, and then compile them and make it your own? Or?
Yeah, there's for example, something that has influenced me. There's a song, and I don't want to like throw everything onto this one band, but there's a song by the Killers. They do a music video too, and he's standing in the middle of the city in Japan, I believe, and he looks dead in the camera, and his eyes are really calm, but there's a moment where like his hand kind of twitches, suggesting I'm trying to come across as if I'm fine, but really there's something wrong. I think of a moment like that. That has influenced me musically more than any, you know, song has. You know, because I come from a generation that had YouTube. Mm-hmm. You know, I could look up anything I wanted. Yeah. I was influenced by, there's a music video by My Chemical Romance where they're playing in just this dusty abyss. And I've never, you know, they just pour it all out. It's like, that's how much I want to believe in my music. So those things, I think of like just different moments, you know, like. But I you know, those bands are amazing. But I want to be better than them, you know.
So, what you were just describing in that music video by the Killers, that actually sounds like. On your website, there's this bio section where you talk about joy and happiness and the distinction between them. Mm-hmm. And this sounds very much like what you just described, the pretense of happiness, but actually it's just joy, and which fades away. So is that correct in assuming?
Yeah. No, I think that is what I get out of traveling around the world now, being able to play music, is there are a few things that just translate perfectly. You have sexuality, you know, people are attracted to one another. You know, you have food, people love food. Everybody in the entire world likes food. And you have music. And really those are like the only things that there are. I mean, I'm sure we could come up with some other theories, but you know, you think about music and how it just applies to everyone.
Universal.
It's very, you know, universal is a perfect word for it. So then I start, as a songwriter, I start thinking of other universal concepts. And I think that one of those, whether or not people really understand it, is the concept of trying to figure out how to go about this life in a way that you enjoy yourself, or in a way that you like who you are. And whether or not you like who you are is really hinged upon whether or not you have joy. Because, you know, I'm happy that I'm here right now talking to you, but then something else could happen where I'm about to go play a show and nothing goes right, and then I'm not happy anymore. It's very fleeting. You know, it gets influenced by the things that are going on around me, and if I'm controlled by just that, then I'm gonna go nuts. I need to find something bigger. I need to find something that I have joy, which I feel like kind of it spans out over my entire life. If hopefully, you know, more than just a moment, hopefully a day, a month, years, where joy just is there. And I think that when you find joy, then you find peace. And when you find peace, then you have obviously found something to believe in.
But it is still, I assume, then a continuous struggle to find it.
Absolutely. And that goes back to another universal language, and that's struggling to find peace. And that's something I think that every single person on earth has to figure out.
If there comes a day, people posted up at the end of your driveway, they're calling for your head and they're calling for your name. I'll bomb down on them, I'm coming through. Do they know I was grown with you? If they hate to smoke, no, I'll go with you. Just keep it outside, yeah.